being converted, saved, changed. God picked out the scum of the earth and made them kings and priests in His kingdom, elevated them to the highest place, right? And this was what Jesus precisely did Himself and indicated when announcing in His ministry, quote, He has anointed me to preach good news to the poor. Now, why does God choose the foolish of the world? The text tells us specifically to shame the wise. In other words, the so-called wise, to overthrow human perception of human wisdom and greatness. And God even chooses, as Paul goes on to say, the weak, the base, the despised. Notice again in verses 27 to 29, God has chosen the foolish things of the world to shame the wise. God has chosen the weak things of the world to shame the things which are strong. See the opposites. The base things of the world and the despised of God, He has chosen the things that are not, that He may nullify the things that are, so that no man may boast before God. God chose weak little David to conquer the huge giant Goliath. David wasn't even first considered by his own dad as a possibility to be the next king, right? Remember how he brought him before Samuel? It was the very last guy. He was out looking at the sheep. He was a short little guy, David was. And his father brought before Samuel all his other brothers. Forgot about little David. But God, what? He looks at the heart. He looks at the things that are weak to the world. He looks at those who are despised, the scum and scorned of the earth, and says, you're the one. Another commentator, David Pryor, I like how he says it. He says, by using such methods, God is overthrowing one of the false standards of the world. That is to say, the notion that those who matter to Him are the wise, the well-bred, the articulate, the gifted, the wealthy, the wielders of power and influence. God uses and works opposite from the world. Now, the reason why God chooses the foolish is so that no man may boast before God. God is the sovereign of the universe. He's not just the author of all life, but He's the author of recreated life, redemption. And how can we boast before God? Because we have done nothing. You know, God still chooses the foolish, weak, the base, and the despised. Some Christians today, just like the Corinthians, we're still susceptible to looking at others through a worldly lens, aren't we? We see others, sometimes, often other fellow Christians, as lesser than ourselves because of maybe how they look or maybe they smell, how they do things, or for some reason